Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today is episode 2 of Sunlit Valley. I'm so happy that you are joining us again. If you haven't checked out episode 1, please go back and check that one out first. And now we'll get into a little recap of what happened in episode 1, and then we'll dive right in. In episode 1, we were a little bit of a loot goblin. We went around collecting as many things as possible from the chests that were around us before we even started our journey. We acquired lots of different items, we found lots of different chests, and lots of different barrels. Then we went on a boat journey. Found a little house in the woods. Checked it out and looted it a little bit. Next, we found our way to the nearest village, where we found a beautiful lavender field and decided, hey, this looks like a pretty good spot to make our own place. Just not right beside it. Once we got ourselves settled in, we decided to go collect as many pumpkins as possible, as this was a great way to make money at the very beginning of the game. It took us a little bit, but we ended up making a good bit from all these pumpkins. Next, we set up our farm plot. It took us a little while to get everything watered, but we wanted to make sure it was done before 6 a.m. Here I am going back for some more seeds that were for spring, making sure to get them all into the ground. And finally, we collected all the resources to go ahead and set up our very first farmhouse. We needed to gather a lot of cobblestone. All right, let's dive right in. Thanks again for coming back for episode 2. So we started heading towards the village. And along the way, I got a little distracted with the salmon berries. So we went ahead and gathered all of them. Then I saw a huge field of pumpkins. And of course, we had to gather them all and go on a little bit of a pumpkin gathering spree for some additional coins. This would definitely help us later on to bring in a lot more money. So I had lots of fun gathering them all up. And there were a lot to collect. Once we gathered those pumpkins, did you all just see that crazy lightning strike? So we just saw that, and then we gathered some more salmon berries, saying hello to the sheep as we went, and getting distracted by some more. You would think I would have gathered them all up by now. And now we finally made it. We can see the village in our sights. So we hopped on up. And the loot goblin took over, of course. So off to each and every single house to gather what was in the chest. This one had a lot of seeds and food. We, of course, broke that chest to take with us. And off to the next house we went. Inside this house, we found our first villager, sleeping away, and gathered that reward for seeing that first villager. And off to the next house. We were in the alpine biome, so got that advancement. Found that other villager sleeping away. And climbed up to our next house. Another villager was just sleeping peacefully. So we left him be, since there was no chest anyway, and began climbing up again. But along the way I got distracted. First by the lightning, but then we ran into a cute little barrel goblin and a hay goblin. Aren't they so cute? So we gathered up those rewards from seeing them. And went to go see the rest of the village, where we ran into an iron golem as well. We're just finding everything. And this little baby villager. Isn't he so cute? And continuing our way through. I stopped at all the hay bales because those are also a great money maker. So anytime you see those in the village, go ahead and gather those up. We made sure that we got every single one of them along the way. And then went back to checking out the houses. This one here had a blast furnace if I would need it later. This one over here didn't have anything important inside. Came to another chest with some saplings and some photos inside. Those photos gave us a moment in time advancement. This biome is just so beautiful. And off we went to that very last house. Inside it was a cute little library, but nothing really important upstairs. So back down and out we went. And we made our way back from the village to our house. Well, it's not a house yet, but we have something set up at least. I wanted to make sure to ship all those pumpkins, as well as the hay bales. The corn could definitely go. And I had enough salmon berries that we could get rid of some. I remembered on the way I had seen a dig spot, so I went back to find it. And hey, we got an advancement from the earth for finding an earth crystal inside. Not a bad dig spot at all. I also started collecting all the seashells around. These seashells are also helpful because you can put them in your offhand and open them up. And when you open them up, you have chances to find things like diamonds inside. So if you're able to gather them up, please do. We continued to search for them, also picking up anything else we could find along the way. And I even checked over in this spot over here, close to our crops, because there were some seashells that I remembered. And you can even sell them for a little bit of a profit, so pick them up. So here we're going to go ahead and sell those shells. I collected our money from our previous day, added that to the bank, and opened up all those shells. There's what we got. I remembered that I had all those saplings, so I went ahead and planted them all around. Again, not putting them in any particular spot. I just like to throw them around. And then I went through and started terraforming the land. I wanted to make sure that we had a great spot that we could put our house. So I went ahead and started chopping down a bunch of the trees around. And then I wanted to make the space as flat as possible. So I went ahead and started terraforming all of these blocks here. And yes, it does take a good bit of time to do all this, but it's worth it in the end. Knowing that we're going to have a really nice spot to put a house down is going to be wonderful. That poor pig kept getting in the way. I was so happy when he finally moved out of that space. But of course, I ran back into him as I was trying to put all the dirt down. And this continued through the night. I just continued to knock everything out and keep completing the same process. Knocking it out, building stuff back in, making as clear of a space as possible. So when it was time to put down our farmhouse, we weren't going to have to worry about the blocks being in weird spots, or it being too far up in the air, or anything like that. And then we went with our farmhouse. The consensus was the alpine. So of course I was going to do that. It's so beautiful. And it's definitely new since I first started playing this pack. I'm so glad that they added so many different things. So here I am trying to find the perfect spot. Not on top of the pig, of course. And then I kept walking around, making sure everything was clear. I liked this spot. So I built it. And I love how it all comes together. It's so fast and so beautiful. So here is our house. But the first thing we needed to take care of, one, was getting rid of all this grass. But two, was fixing that door. So I just took some alpine logs, put them up. Not thinking about it, I should have stripped those down. Maybe I'll go back and do that later. And then let me show you around. So here's the second level. This is going to be a little bedroom area. Here's a little fireplace. Has a nice little balcony. And over this side, I'll probably put like a kitchen. And back downstairs, we have lots of space down here as well. I went ahead and put down some chests so we could get started with some inventory inside instead of all of it outside of the house. And moved the bank terminal, as well as the crafting table. Found a spot for our bed. Put the bank terminal at the first part when you walk in the house. Added the shipping bin beside. And the crafting table right near all of it. So that way everything's right together. Next, I worked on a saw, so that way we could do some decorating. I really wanted to craft some furniture to spruce up the Alpine house. So I went through seeing what different items would be good for us and decided on an Alpine cabinet. I was thinking of making a little kitchen space for us upstairs. I saw that there was the table and a little bench to go with it. Perfect for a small little dining room area. So I went ahead upstairs and decided to add that little table in the corner. Place down the bench as well to go with it. And then this space would be the cute little area for a kitchen. So I started with the cabinet. Didn't have anything else at this moment. So we went back downstairs to see what else I could find. I liked the idea of a little bar counter. Reminds me of a lot of the islands that people have in their kitchen. Or even their little countertop. Thought the shelf might be nice to have too. And then I saw there were chairs. So of course we had to grab those. And then I would have to figure out a different area for that bench. So I got the bench out of the way. Started putting down the chairs. And then I got a little distracted. Put down those bar counters. And then was like, oh yes, the chair. You forgot about that. That happens quite frequently with me. And then here I was testing out some different ways to put these cabinets in. But I kind of thought I really would like them across the top. So I did have to kind of change a couple things with the house. Put that lantern back up. But then I did not like that it was not even, so I had to go back down and make more cabinets. Again, checking out other different things, seeing what all they have, and there's a lot. I probably spent way too much looking at stuff, so I had to cut some of that out. I didn't want you guys watching me do this for like 20 minutes. Decided on a bread box and some trays to add a little bit more decor. Place those couple items down. Starting to look a little more like a kitchen. Just a little bit. Went back downstairs. Decided to move all those barrels. It was time to bring everything inside and start organizing it. Now here is where you might be like, what are you doing? I'm organizing stuff in the way that it's going to be easy for me, but it's probably going to be very confusing for everyone else until it's all set up and done. And yes, I spent way too much time doing this as well. Placing barrels around, thinking, ooh, this would be a nice spot for like furnaces maybe. Adding those barrels again. Debating where I wanted other things. Like I said, this is one of those times where it's like it makes sense in my head, but might not make any sense for any of you. I took those flowers that I had and started adding them around the front of the house, making it look super warm and inviting. Like, hey, here's a house you might want to visit. Or not if you're creepers. Thank goodness we don't have to worry about any of those things. At least not on the surface. Went around to those barrels again, collecting up all the different resources, and decided the food items make the most sense up in the kitchen. So I went ahead and started adding those up here. And then thought about the fact that we needed to cook those mussels. So I went ahead and cooked them on the fireplace with our little campfire. Went back, collected all the rest of the barrels, except one. I left the seeds outside for now. But that will change later. And again, went back to organizing everything the best that I could. Making sure food went upstairs. And later when we make things like preserve jars, it's important that I know where everything is. I waited for that 6 a.m. when all of our crops needed to be watered again. Went ahead through, took my time making sure to get every single one watered. And these turnip seeds are at growth of 80%, as well as the strawberries, so they definitely will be ready to harvest very soon. And then we headed to the village. In the village, I placed down the blacksmith work table and waited for our villager, who happened to just stay right outside the house. And I waited and waited and decided instead of waiting, I'm going to go ahead and find another villager. So I headed up to find our next villager. I saw one standing over here, so decided to go ahead up to this house here and go ahead and place down our barrel and waited patiently for him to come on up. Once he made his way and saw the workstation, he became a fisher villager. So while I was looking through his inventory, I went ahead and picked up one of the fishing rods for later use. Checked out what else he had to offer, and went back on a villager hunt for our farmer workstation. Wanted to go ahead and put that down and get a farmer. Of course, this baby villager is not going to help us. So I continued to look around for that other villager. Ran into a little hamster. And realized that he was down a little lower, so we went down that way to check out where he was. Along the way, I came back to that blacksmith, who still had not gone inside the house. So instead of waiting for him to go inside, I went ahead and picked up that smithing table. I tried to see if maybe putting the farmer station would get him inside, and that didn't work either. So I placed the smithing table right outside where he could see it. Picked up that farmer workstation. And when I walked out, we finally had our blacksmith. Thank goodness. So I looked at all the different things he had to offer. I went back on that hunt for that last villager that I know was hanging around somewhere down here. Saw he wasn't coming when I placed that in this house, so I was like, maybe he's up at this second house. And then I realized he was somewhere way over here. But I couldn't see exactly where he was. So I went ahead and placed down that composter, and then out of nowhere, our final villager showed up. And now we have a farmer. So I checked out his inventory, saw that he offered a lot of different types of fertilizers, went ahead and picked some of those up for our crops, because I knew that would definitely help with our quality of our crops that we are growing, and it could help us make more money in the end. Looked through our quest book and went ahead and finished with all of the quests that we had. Got some awesome rewards. Found that we got some fishing rewards. We still have to upgrade our rod. Got some coconut cocktails. And saw that we still needed to get a bounty board, which is kind of like the board that you get quest in Stardew Valley. So I headed home. On the way, I went ahead and put down our fertilizer for all of our crops. The blue one would help to keep water in the soil for these crops here, where the other ones just kind of help with the quality, though they're not as good as the purple ones are at the top. Had to eat some food, as I saw we were very low on food. And inside we went to go ahead and make that bounty board. Started with our coins. And now we have our bounty board ready to go. So we had to find somewhere to put it after we collected those decrees from our rewards. I thought putting our bounty board by Pierre would be a good spot. Kind of like how there's one outside of the shop at Pierre's in Stardew Valley. Very similar. So here is our board up and ready to go. Fix those couple little mistakes. Edit our decrees. And here you can see all the quests that are ready. At this time, we're not able to do any of them, but it's definitely something to look forward to later on in the episodes. Put the rest of my fertilizer away with my other crops. We finished this episode as we watched the moon start to rise on the last night. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below on where we should go next. Should we loot and explore, try caving for ore, try to get to the Skull Caverns, or something else? Let me know. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, or night, or whatever it is where you are. See you later.